There's one video that every creator seems to make, and it almost always does very well. You've likely seen some variation of it, how YouTube changed my life with 1,000 subscribers. And these milestone videos consistently pull in 3 to 10 times the views than anything else that had been released on these channels before. So when I recently crossed this threshold as a new creator myself, I had to set out to make my version of this video, but in order to ensure that I'd be on that 10x or more end of the spectrum, I needed to understand what exactly was making these videos click. So I did what any rational creator would do by collecting and watching 100 of these videos from other creators. And this quite possibly makes me the foremost expert on these videos in the world at this point, but in the end, they didn't teach me how to make the best milestone video. And in fact, they convinced me not to make one at all, because buried in these videos was something far more valuable about succeeding as a creator. And it's a lesson that, despite ending up where I am as the creative director of a billion-dollar tech org, and as an artist who built a 100K following from scratch on Instagram, and as a new YouTuber who monetized my channel in just 30 days, is a lesson that I would do anything to give to my younger self as advice to get to where I am today much faster while avoiding years of imposter syndrome and self-doubt in the process. Which is why in this video, I want to share with you those patterns that I discovered which explain why these milestone videos consistently outperform for new creators. The hidden psychological principle tucked inside of them that made me decide to create this video instead, and finally to go into how you can apply this principle right now to have more impact and confidence in everything that you create going forward. So let's start with that first point of why these milestone videos work so incredibly well. After watching 100 of them, what stood out wasn't the formula of the video themselves. It was something that these creators were doing without even realizing it. In video after video, I began to notice a pattern that each one of these contained some version of "I did it," or "I made it," or "I'm proof that this is possible." And while you could write this off as an audience's positive reaction to a feel-good update and just mutual celebration, the fact that these videos consistently pull in 3 to 10 times or more of the normal views, far beyond what the channel typically receives, suggests that something else is going on here. And I personally think that there are 2 key reasons for this. The first is that these creators are for the first time able to claim genuine authority through reaching a recognized milestone. And the second is that the milestone happens to be close enough that their audience can envision achieving it too. But this sense of authority and the confidence that it brings both for the creators and their viewers is not unique to these specific types of videos at all. If you study successful creators, those who have mastered the craft, and especially those that are in tune with the creator economy space, you'll notice that they do this at the start of nearly every video. Within the first 30 seconds, they'll strategically introduce what is referred to as an appeal to authority, and the best ones do it without you even noticing. Now, they do this with intention because they've built up the practice and they know how powerful it is. But with YouTube setting these early milestones of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours for monetization, and channels like Think Media reinforcing their importance with things like their 1,000 subscriber club, newer creators stumble into this same powerful effect when they hit those thresholds and they share these journeys, even if unintentionally. If you hadn't heard of this appeal to authority device before, it's one of the many hidden mechanics that creators use not only to improve the retention of their YouTube videos, but also to land better clients and to sell more products and to gain confidence and leverage in whatever it is they create or build. And it's exactly the type of thing that I talk about in my weekly newsletter, which I've linked in the description for those of you who are interested. But the good news here is that you don't need to wait to reach those YouTube-defined milestones in order to claim this kind of authority. And in fact, you don't even need to be a YouTuber at all. Any creative can learn to manufacture this authority to accelerate their growth or to help them move past the imposter syndrome that holds so many of us back. If we go back to those 100 creators that I watched in preparation of this video, beyond the common patterns of celebrating the milestones of making it, there was another word that kept appearing over and over in these videos, And that word was confidence. I kept hearing things like, YouTube has given me so much confidence, or hitting 1,000 subscribers showed me that this is working, or I finally feel confident that I can do this. This hints at something much deeper than YouTube metrics. It speaks to that imposter syndrome that every creator and creative faces when we're just starting out, whether we're making art or building a business or really putting anything out into the world. And it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Chris Williamson, that the only way to confidence, the only way to truly overcome imposter syndrome, is to create an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are. For most creatives, this proof doesn't come until they've put in their 10,000 hours of mastery, or until they have a big success that they can point to. The types of things that you'll see these successful creators reference in their appeals to authority time and time again. And not only does it make them feel more legitimate, but it shows their audience, here's the proof I am who I say I am. I'm a complete believer in the power of this principle, which is why instead of making a milestone video myself and taking the short-term win using that specific appeal to authority to boost a celebration video, I thought it would be much more valuable to use this as an opportunity to share how you can manufacture that same authority from day one, so that you can leverage it into more views or clients or growth without waiting for 1,000 subscribers or 10,000 hours or 10 years in the industry. But really more than that, so you can use it as a tool to overcome imposter syndrome, no matter what it is that you're creating or building. But before we get to a few specific examples that you can start putting into practice today, and some that you can even complete this week, I first wanted to share the framework I use to manufacture this confidence and authority so that you can apply it to anything beyond the examples that I'll give you. The clearest way I can think to explain it without trying to brand the framework is that you need to become the 1% of one small thing. Not the top 1% of your entire field and not the best at everything you do. Just the 1% of one specific, strategically chosen aspect of your larger goal. For those of you still here, I hope this serves as a bit of a payoff, because while you may not have realized it, I've already demonstrated this exact strategy at the start of this video when I opened with the context of having watched 100 milestone videos in preparation. I even took the risk of doubling down on it by explicitly calling out that it probably makes me the foremost expert on these videos in the world, and because of the way I delivered it, most will just feel like it was a lighthearted reflection. But now that you understand what's going on here, it's easy to identify that this wasn't just a throwaway line. It's a case-in-point example of exactly how this works. But this framework goes far beyond YouTube, and if we take my journey with environment art and world building as an example, for those of you who follow my other channel or Instagram, Future Familiar, you know that I'm also learning world building and environment art, and that journey is incredibly complex and takes years to master. Though instead of letting that overwhelm me and to live in a perpetual state of feeling like an insecure beginner over many years, once I got my feet under me with the fundamentals, I decided to spend a concentrated period last year carving out one specific aspect of that larger undertaking to start building my confidence in that one area, which for me was lighting. But rather than just watching some tutorials on YouTube, I tracked down every single high-end course available on lighting 3D environments, and I committed to completing all of them, which ended up taking around 2 months. And after finishing that study, I then reached out to a senior lighting artist at one of the world's top gaming studios for a mentorship. And I used that intensive study of literally having taken every single premium course on the topic in my pitch and as proof that I was committed, showing that I'd already put in serious work and wasn't just a random beginner trying to look for someone to do the hard work for me. And this gave him confidence that I was worth mentoring, and he took me on for a mentorship. And just 2 sessions later, I posted my first lighting study, and Unreal Engine themselves reshared it across their socials to their millions of followers. Now, I'm fully aware that I'm nowhere near the level of senior lighting artists. That's not the point here. The point here is that among other beginners in environment art as a whole, I knew that 99% would not take every single premium lighting course available online, and that one focused action set me apart from everyone else at my level, and ultimately led to my very first lighting study to be recognized by Unreal Engine themselves, which again likely also sets me in the 1% of beginning lighting artists, which is another appeal to authority that I can point to. Now, getting recognition from Unreal was amazing, but the important thing to understand here from this case study is that doing that deep dive on lighting changed everything about how I was able to approach being a beginner. Because I felt confidence in having taken every premium lighting course available, I had solid ground to stand on. I could say, yes, I might be fresh to environment art overall and still early on those 10,000 hours, but I really understand lighting as well as you possibly could at this stage. And that one area of focused expertise gave me permission to be a beginner everywhere else. This is exactly why you'll often see senior creatives or creators confidently admit when they don't know something. They're comfortable in saying, I'm not too sure about that, because they have these specific areas where they've already gone extraordinarily deep. They've collected their 1% actions or accomplishments that give them the confidence to be honest about what they're still learning. I'll give more specific examples in a minute for content creators here on YouTube, but the best way to approach this to find your own 1% opportunities, no matter what it is that you're creating or building, is to frame options by preceding the action with "as someone who has," and seeing if it holds weight. And this might sound pretentious if you said it out loud, but it's a powerful internal tool to use to evaluate different candidates. Take reading, for example. We all know that reading is valuable, and many of us watch YouTube summaries of a book, or we hear enough quotes to get the gist of what it's about, and maybe we even buy the books and let them sit by our bed or on the shelf, hoping the proximity will do us some good. But how many people have actually sat down and read the 10 most important books on their chosen topic? Or not just read them, but read them twice, once for the experience and again while taking detailed notes? No one wants to admit it, but that number is extraordinarily small. And what if this month you picked 10 essential books in your field, the psychology of marketing or writing believable characters, whatever it is that matters to you, but the more specific, the better. And what if you actually read and studied all of them start to finish? From that point forward, you will have laid a foundation of confidence, even if just internally, because you'll be someone who can say, as someone who has actually read these 10 books. And I promise you, in nearly any room, you'll be in the top 1% of knowledge on that narrowly defined area. Or let's consider movies or games. Sure, maybe you've watched 10 movies in your favorite genre over the past few years that you want someday to create content similar to. But if, for example, you're a sci-fi artist or author like me, have you actually watched all 10 of those with purpose, to a 1% level? Are you a fan or are you a student of them? Have you sat down with a notepad and documented everything that speaks to you in real time as you watch it? And better yet, have you followed each of those 10 viewings by then watching 10 interviews of the creators? Could you then list 10 or 100 of the references or inspiration for each of those creators of those top 10 movies? This level of analysis is what puts you ahead of the 99% of others who want to be like that director or want to create in that genre, because you will be able to leverage a more intimate understanding of what it is that makes them special. Now, if we come back to YouTube, it's about finding angles that set you apart. For this video, I spent 18 hours watching those milestone videos and taking detailed notes. But dedicating to 100 videos as research, a 1% action, wasn't only beneficial as an appeal to authority, though it was useful as one, as proven by the fact that you're still here, but it also genuinely helped me understand patterns that I would have missed if I'd only just watched a few of them, which in the end led to this video being much more meaningful. Now, maybe you don't have time for 100 videos, and that's completely fine. Instead, collect 100 thumbnails of the same trend, or analyze 100 titles on your topic, or maybe take those same 100 videos, but instead of watching them in their entirety, Instead, break down their first 30-second hooks to see how they work and to identify common patterns. And these don't have to be one-offs either. Some can be per project, and others can be evergreen that you continue to refer back to whenever it's relevant. And remember, in preparation of your videos, you can of course go beyond YouTube with the books and movies and podcasts like I mentioned before. And even if you never mention this research explicitly, it eliminates that fear of the unknown when creating your own content that would otherwise have you feeling like an imposter, and at the same time, it will help you create better content. Now, there's no magic number, and it is easy to get carried away turning this into a challenge. So it's important to balance achievability with impact and payoff and genuine value. I will say that multiples of 100 tend to carry more weight, but it's really about strategic framing. With those books, maybe 100 hours is more compelling than 10 books, and based on their Audible time, maybe that only requires 6 books, which immediately places that milestone much more within reach. For videos, 100 examples analyzed might frame better than 18 hours of research, which is exactly why I led with that in this video. The achievement itself doesn't change, but the framing shapes how you can leverage it and the way that it's received. Even if you're not a YouTuber, start paying attention to how creators and artists and entrepreneurs use these proof points, or how landing pages or product sales do the same. There are infinite possibilities of how to apply this principle. It's just about figuring out how you can carve out one small action inside of the larger thing that you're trying to achieve. Most people fail because they take on challenges like starting January 1st saying, I'm going to do this thing every day forever, or they're waiting for 10,000 hours to feel that they can claim mastery over something because Robert Greene put it in a book and other artists who've probably never even read that book swear by that benchmark. They set themselves up for failure because the journey to authority and confidence is just too far into the future, that they live in a perpetual state of feeling like an amateur both to themselves and to their audiences. But I think what's most important here, and my biggest takeaway from those 100 videos, is that you don't have to wait for external milestones or validation to claim authority or to prove to yourself or others that you aren't an imposter. As a YouTuber, you don't have to wait for milestones like 1,000 subscribers or getting monetized. You can set your own small but powerful proof points, create genuine authority, and shake off imposter syndrome a lot sooner on your own terms. It only took me 3 days to build the authority needed for this video, and I've been quietly using this approach since day one in each of my previous videos as well. And it's a big reason why I gained traction so quickly and was able to monetize in 30 days with just 3 videos. And if you want to see more examples of how I did it, one of those videos should be popping up here in a second. So if you got some value from this one, make sure to check one of those out next. But until then, thank you all for being here. Let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.